This video is going to review how you can solve proportions by using cross multiplication. I'm also going to show what to do if you get an answer that's not a whole number or a nice terminating decimal. There's a way to leave it as a fraction, and I'll walk you through those steps. Okay, we've got a proportion in front of us, and as we talked about in class, when you multiply the diagonals, they have to equal each other. So we know that 5 times 105 has to equal 3x. So I'm going to actually write that below. 5 times 105 equals the product of this other diagonal, which is 3x. And then I'm going to just kind of draw my line down the middle while I solve my equation. 5 times 105 is 525, and that has to equal 3x. And now we have to divide both sides by 3 so that we can get our x alone. And when I do that, I get 525 divided by 3 is 175. So x equals 175. And if you wanted to check that, guys, you can just simply, let me grab another color here. You can multiply 3 times 175, and you get 525. And then multiply 5 times 105, and you'll also get 525. You don't need to do that step, but it is a way that you can check if your answer is correct. Let's try one with decimals. Again, when I multiply the diagonals, they equal each other. So I have 15.2 times 3.6 equals, and notice I'm not figuring that out yet, I'm just writing my initial equation, so don't pick up your calculator, equals 109.44 times x. Now I can solve this equation by, let's multiply the left-hand side. 15.2 times 3.6 is 54.72, and the right-hand side is going to stay the same for now. And now to get x alone, you always divide by how many x's you have. And we're going to do that to both sides. And when I do that, let's see, I have 54.72 divided by 109.44, and I get x equals 0.5. And again, you could check that by putting it back into your original proportion, but you don't need to. Sometimes you're going to find out that your answer is not what we call a nice one. You don't have a whole number, or you don't have a nice terminating decimal. So let's see how you can leave your answer for these. So for this first one, I'm doing 3 times 3 equals 10a. Okay, 3 times 3 is 9. Then I'm just going to bring down my 10a. Now I know I need to get a alone, so I'm going to divide both sides by 10. And I'm left with a equals, if I do 9 divided by 10 on my calculator, oops, I guess I do get a nice one on this one, I get 0.9. So you can leave it like that, okay? Or, I just want to point out, I could have left this as my answer right here, 9/10. I would have just rewritten it below. Oops, let me get my pencil back. I could have left it as 9/10, because 9/10 is the same thing as 0.9. If I try the one on the right, I do 5 times 3 equals 7x. And I have 15 equals 7x. And if I do that, I'm going to get a number that, you can check it on your calculator if you want, it's going to be 2.142857143. It keeps going. We don't want to write that down. So what we can do is we'll just write x equals, and again, I can leave this right here, 15 over 7 is the same as 15/7. If you're someone who doesn't like using the improper fractions, turn it into a mixed number, that's fine. That would be 2 1/7 would work also. But I just want you to see that this right here is perfectly acceptable to leave it that way. And on some of the activities we do in class, like the online ones, that's the way they're going to want you to enter it in order to get the answer correct. Alright, if you want to see how well you get it, pause the video, try these two problems, and then come back and see how you did. Alright, if you're ready to check your answer, go ahead and watch this one. So for number 1, I'm doing 3 times 7 equals 9y. 3 times 7 is 21, so 21 equals 9y. And then when I divide by 9, I get my y's alone. If I go to check on my calculator, 21 divided by 9, I get 2.3 repeating. I don't want to use a repeating decimal, so I'm just going to keep 21/9 as my answer. Okay, how'd you do? If you had 2 1/3, that also works. Okay, over on the right-hand side, we've got 1.4 times 3.6 equals 3x. 1.4 times 3.6 is 5.04 equals 3x. And when I divide both sides by 3, I find out that x equals 1.68. Now that's a nice terminating decimal. I can keep my answer that way. All right, talk with me in class if you have any more questions about them.